Welcome back to the Standing Room Only podcast with Goose and Healy, episode number 47. Before we get into it, make sure you subscribe. If you already are subscribed, unsubscribe, resubscribe, download all the episodes that you can. That's how we track our data by downloads. So do that if you don't already. It's only a couple megabytes. You could delete that after you download it. The stat will still track. But you can follow the social media page, SR Only Pod, on Twitter and Instagram. You can follow our personal pages, the Healy 6 for me and for Goose.
I am iGoose with 4 O's, Twitter, Instagram, new addition to Twitch as well. Go ahead, hit the follow button. And of course, more importantly, as Healy already said, the Standing Room Only podcast, we are on social media there. We like to stay interactive. We've been very interactive a lot lately, especially with FanDuel lineups. We got a lot of love there. So go ahead and do yourself a favor. Not only hit the download button on Spotify, on Apple Podcasts, but go ahead and give us a follow on social media as well.
And speaking of social media, next week on the podcast, we're going to have a special guest, Tyler Stevenson. Played for the Reds a little bit this year, got his debut, homered against the Cubs, got a walk-off moment, was a part of the team for the most part. He was either on the taxi squad, which meant he was traveling with the team and pretty much being with them, or he was playing in some games. So Tyler Stevenson, he'll be the guest on the podcast next week. It'll be fun to talk about his major league experience throughout this year.
Yes, you do not want to miss that. We've had a series of special guests. This one is going to be huge. It's going to be huge, especially if you are a fan of the Reds. If you watch baseball, you've probably seen them around. You probably have seen them on ESPN. Another one that you're not going to want to miss.
So that will be next week. Start off, though, we'll stick with baseball. Both Chicago teams are eliminated from the playoffs. Last week, I was texting you. I think even like on Sunday, I was like, I cannot wait for the podcast because I'm just going to talk about the Cubs a bunch. I've kind of calmed down a little bit, got my thoughts together. So I'm not going to go on the huge ramble that I was talking about before. But the Cubs, they looked pathetic. Their offense wasn't there. And the record that they had, the seed that they had, they did not deserve at the end of the year with how they were playing. Both Kyle Hendricks and Yu Darvish pitched well in their games.
Yep.
The bullpen was okay as well, but the offense just was not there for the Cubs. And it wasn't there for a long time of the season. The 13-3 start really overshadowed their struggles throughout the whole year. And yeah, their season's over. One thing I really hope that happens is that this front office and the Ricketts, they get off their high horse. They stop treating this team, everyone that was on the 2016 team, as royalty.
Yep.
And get back to business. It's been 4 years since the last World Series. Yeah, it's not been 100 years yet or whatever. But this is a great team. You have a great window to win a championship, and it will involve some moves. This is a business, though. You have to be willing to try to improve the team, because if you aren't improving it, or you aren't even making any moves, you're just getting worse. You aren't keeping up with anyone.
Yep.
It needs to happen this offseason. Like
Yeah,
Kyle Schwarber, I like him as a player, like him in the Cubs, but let's just say you could get Kyle Schwarber in a deal, a prospect in a deal, and you can get like, I'm trying to think of a player off the top of my head, but like a mid-level pitcher or like a better player from just like a different team. I don't know, like a younger guy that would fit the offense more. Maybe he's more of a contact hitter that could be the leadoff guy. Do it.
Yeah.
Everyone should be expendable besides like Baez, maybe Chris Bryant. It really depends on what Bryant's going to do and what the Ricketts future think. of him. But Anthony Rizzo, he still has 1 year left. So if you're going to pick up his option, you're going to keep him around. But there's like other guys they can move on the team. Just don't be afraid. And also, they're getting a lot of money, too. Lester's off the books. Quintana's off the books. Chatwood's off the books. A lot of money right there.
Yeah, Lester had a huge contract, and he fulfilled it. He did extremely well. Quintana, a little bit different. Obviously, they traded a lot to get him, and he came in hot. Not really so much after his first couple of starts. To me, as you said, Healy, it's a business. It's a business. I know Chicago specifically, their Cubs fans were so spoiled with one World Series. And it's so sad to see because they have a foundation. They have, to me, what it takes to compete and be a playoff team, but they're missing their bats. To me, everybody on the offense is tradable. Everybody's an asset. We don't know what's going to happen with KB, but they've turned this city around, and I know that we don't know if Epstein's going to even be here after, this upcoming offseason. Yeah. So we don't know what's going to happen there, but he's done so well with his franchises, with the Red Sox, with the Cubs, that perhaps they will be able to bring more free agents over. Obviously, they were able to bring Yu Darvish over, who's been stellar. I mean, he's one pitcher where I was like, wow, I was surprised at his first few starts with how much money they were paying him. And, now in his last 2 years, especially the season before, second half, this whole season, the playoffs, he pitched lights out, is earning every penny that he's playing for. And their pitching did incredible. And, obviously it's tough with a 3-game series. Anybody can win, except for the teams that don't score runs. Your pitching can give up 2, 3, 4 runs in a span of 2 games only. But if your bats come out and you are lackluster and you are swinging at shit in the dirt and you're trying to hit bombs all the time, in 2016, that was cool. When you guys could also hit for average, or at least have 3 guys hit for average. When nobody is hitting for average, that makes everybody a problem. That makes the team a problem. Not David Ross. It's not David Ross. This team has not been hitting for a while, minus the first few games of the season. KB was on the trading block, I believe, the season before, maybe 2 years ago. They should have pulled the trigger. There was a lot of Arenado talks. Maybe he won't bat the way he did in Colorado, but there's moves that could have been made, and now there's moves that cannot be made. But they have to get ready to make moves, and that's the only way. You have to keep up with, you got to keep up with the Joneses, as the saying says, that division's tough. That division's going to continue to get tough. Cincinnati's really good. So we'll see. We'll see what ends up happening moving forward. But, as a Sox fan, I'm also a fan of the game, and it's like you see teams going all out every year, like the Yankees, like some other big market names, and they are able to bring in guys like Giancarlo Stanton, Garrett Cole, or whoever it is. Chicago is a place. They traded for
Luke Voit.
Luke Voit, who's been hot. That dude, he hits dingers left and right. And, as a Sox fan, I know what we're missing. We're missing some pitching, but we also had some injuries, and
Kopech opting out.
Kopech backing out, and Rodon wasn't in. And so I know for us, and I know you had your fan hat on, you had your fan cap on when you were texting me, and you're like, oh man, I can't wait. We do have to give it to them for the simple fact that we did not expect really these teams to get past the first round. So we have to look at the bright side.
Yeah, and I saw like some people were kind of bashing Theo for how he's been with the Cubs. Nothing should be put on him at all. The Ricketts, for the past 3 years or so, they got what they wanted. So they spent the money, they got the team, they won the World Series, and after that, they're just like, we won. That's fine. We don't have any money. We can't pay anyone. We don't have, we did all these renovations. We don't have any money. And they're crying poor for 3 years. It's so BS. They did not allow Theo to do what he wanted in the offseason, maybe make the moves. And because he couldn't really spend money, it kind of handcuffed him on trying to trade guys away to get other pieces. Because if you trade like multiple guys, you have to sign others to fill those spots.
Yep.
And the ownership, like, you got to put out that checkbook. This is baseball. There's no cap wall. You could spend as much as you want. And they went below the luxury tax. So it's not like, oh man, they've been above the luxury tax for so many years. No, they went below it, and they just refused to spend. So that might be different. Like, obviously they're getting money, but I hope they spend more than what they can this offseason. And hopefully, like, Theo tries going all out. Past few years, it's been like false promises. I think Theo's had an idea, but the Ricketts have kind of been not allowing him to.
One big bat, one big name is all it takes to get the guys around him to rally again. Because this team, I mean, was the Cubs in 2016 had a deadly offense. Yeah. 1 through 7, 1 through 8 at times was a deadly offense. It's bad when Jason Hayward is your best batter for the season.
265.
And I mean, he batted. He was incredible. He was getting on base during the playoffs. And I mean, that's a guy where you sign him for his Gold Glove abilities, for his arm in the outfield, for his defense ability. The fact that he's keeping your offense somewhat with a heartbeat, and Javi Baez and Schwarber here and there, it's just, you don't expect Chris Bryant and Anthony Rizzo to perform the way they did, lackluster, especially when it matters.
And maybe they do need some changes just because, like, this offense gets cold. These guys have been in the clubhouse for a long time. A lot of these people have, that they just don't have the fire underneath them. They did what they could. They got the World Series, and they need some fresh guys to kind of ignite it again.
Yeah.
Because once one guy goes cold, they all go cold. And they all bat in spurts. Ian Happ will go off for 3 games, and then like Chris Bryant will go off for like 4, but he'll like mesh, like he'll get the last game of Ian Happ going off, and then Willson Contreras goes off for like 5 games, and then Baez goes off for like 2, and then Ian Happ goes off for 3 again, but they are never all synced together.
They don't have a glue guy on the offense. Like the Sox have multiple. They have either Tim Anderson or Jose Abreu. At this point, it's year to year. These guys, you're expecting them to bat 315 to a 330. Those are glue guys. Those are guys where if you're going up, if you're starting at the top of the order, middle of the order, bottom of the order, at some point you're going to see those guys once every 3 innings, and it's going to cause hell for the pitching. And these are guys who know how to get on base. I mean, obviously Jose Abreu could be an MVP this year. It's not like this is his first year doing it, and that's why I'm not worried as a Sox fan.
Yeah.
I'm not worried. They made the right moves. And the biggest thing is, with baseball, as we see, you don't have to go out and make moves for right now. You don't have to win right now. It's all about the foreseeable future and how can we establish a foundation that's going to last, not necessarily win a World Series right away, but at least give us a push in the playoffs every year for the next 5 or 6 years, because that's just the way baseball is.
Yeah.
So
we'll see what happens. The White Sox, I think I said this at the beginning when we were doing our predictions. I was like, they have the 2015 Cubs feel. They didn't make it too far in the playoffs, but man, I was watching some highlights, like Kyle Schwarber went deep and like he hit it into the river 5 years ago.
Oh yeah,
he was a rookie that year. You had KB as a rookie that year. Baez might have been almost, it was either his rookie season the year before, or that was his rookie year. And like just so many young guys in their first or second year. This year for the Sox, Robert, you had Madrigal. At catcher, you signed Grandal, which was good. Yeah, first base, incredible. You had Abreu, who was kind of like Rizzo for the Cubs.
1 through 9. The only person that really... Yeah, Moncada. See, Moncada is one of those guys where he gets really hot for 2-3 week stretch, but he also gets cold for another 2 to 3 weeks. His average dropped towards the end of the year. He obviously had a little bit of injury problems, but everybody on that team, Adam Engel ended up having a couple good games. The only person that really was kind of up in the air was Mazzara, who I guess I didn't really have much to expect from him from the get-go. But even then, for him being one of our worst batters, and that sounds bad. I don't even want to say he's bad, but all around McCann, who caught the no-hitter for Lucas Giolito. I mean, 1 through 9, that team is very dangerous. Edwin Encarnacion at times if he gets his bat on the ball, that's possible home run right there just because of his power. So they have guys who are unique in their own way. They all have different offensive styles. Lewis Robert has some speed, believe it or not. That guy runs the bases. I didn't know. I thought he was going to be super slow, but he actually has a little bit of speed on him. And then obviously Eloy Jimenez, when he bats well or when he's playing and he's healthy, he's just as dangerous as anybody else in the league.
Mm-hmm. I think they're going to make some moves this offseason. I think they're definitely going to improve in areas of need. Free agents are going to realize that as well, that they're just one step away. Yep. Next season should be a very special one for the White Sox. Hopefully for the Cubs as well, if they make some moves. Also, for baseball, we are now in the division series. Fun fact, all the series right now are division-based. It just happened to work out that way with the seedings.
That's wild.
None of the Central teams advanced. They were 0 for 7. 0 for 7 out of 8 teams that lost. The Central was responsible for 7 of them. 4 from the NL, 3 from the AL. It was just bad. The NL Central teams scored like 5 runs combined. The AL Central teams at least put up a fight a little bit. The Indians, they had a couple good games. They just had to go up against the Yankees, who are looking to go down 2-1 against the Rays right now. I don't know if you've watched, but these games are also in neutral sites. So the American League's on the West Coast in California, the National League's in Texas, in Houston and Arlington. And it's just been odd watching these games. I watched the Braves and Marlins play in Minute Maid Park today.
That's really odd. That's super odd.
The A's and Astros played in Dodger Stadium. The ball's flying there. If you guys aren't watching that series, ball is absolutely flying.
Yeah, A's came back. I thought for sure they were going to go down in the series. They came back, scored 5 runs between the 7th and 8th inning. And I mean, that's a 16-run game. Their over-under in that game was 9. Mm-hmm. They damn near doubled that. And I'm expecting that moving forward. I'm expecting a lot of runs. Oakland, I mean, they're just a great offensive team. And so are the Astros. We can't forget. Granted, they did cheat. Granted, everybody wants to see them lose.
They're still good.
They're still good. They are a good ball club at the end of the day.
Mm-hmm. Even though their pitching isn't as elite as it once was in the past few years.
Yeah.
Their lineup really stepping up. Bregman, George Springer has like a bunch of home runs this series. He's on fire.
Yeah.
Watch out for him. And they are 1 game away. It's 2-1 in the Oakland Houston series. The Dodgers, they just started up recently. It's 1-0 in that series. Braves are up 2-0 on the Marlins. And then like I said, the Yankees Rays, it's going to be 2-1 Rays probably after tonight. It's currently 8-2 in the ball game. Something I found very odd. So, like for the primetime games, they're able to have the Yankees on the East Coast primetime. They're able to have the Dodgers have the West Coast primetime. And they started their game up at like 9 p.m. last night, which was good. It was like 7 p.m. on the West Coast. But the guys were legit playing at 9 p.m. The game didn't end till 1 a.m. And I'm like, that's very odd. I get that it was to fit, but like just personally, and they might have been jet lagged still because they're West Coast teams, but still odd that they're starting games at like 10 p.m. at night, 9 p.m. They don't finish till 1 a.m. for a 9-inning game.
Yeah, especially for everybody who has to go to sleep at 10 or 11 and work the next day. The
Mm-hmm.
guys on the East Coast who are what, 4 hours, 3 hours ahead. So
Mm-hmm.
it was even later. So
Yeah, they did that on purpose, to, like, get both crowds. Made sense. It's just odd with like where they're actually playing the games.
mhm.
And also, baseball is very weird right now. Last week they had their wild card series during the middle of the week. We saw no baseball on the weekend.
Super weird.
It's going to happen again this week, Monday through Friday. And if an NL series goes 5 games, then we'll see a Saturday game. What is
If
baseball doing? Why are you not playing on the weekends? Like, you could start maybe on a Wednesday, but like
That
at
would have been a
least
lot of time without baseball, though. What are we going to do? We'd have no content for the podcast.
like they could have easily shifted it to get games on the weekend, especially last week. There was 8 games in one day on a business day.
Yeah, they're starting 11 a.m. Central Time.
Yeah, like,
Atlanta was starting at 11 a.m. I remember that.
you know how many more people you would have gotten to watch these games if it was a Saturday?
Everybody. Most people are off on a Saturday. Not everybody, but a lot more people are off on a Saturday than a weekday.
Like, I get there's football on and stuff. Don't be a baby about it. Contend with them. Don't shy away.
Yeah. Yeah.
Don't let them win. That was just something I had.
Tell
I've been thinking about.
tell them how it is, Healy. Tell them how it is.
Like, their scheduling needs to get better for that. I think the next schedule's a little bit better, but I'm not gonna be surprised. So the next series starts on it starts on Sunday, October 11th, and then you get Monday, and this is a 7-game series, so it could possibly go until a Saturday, Sunday again, but most games look like they're going to be during the week. The World Series, though, you get Tuesday, Wednesday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Tuesday, Wednesday. At least the World Series, you're going to have a couple games on the weekend, but it took all the way to the World Series to get that. Not really a good look. But
Yeah.
that's just what it is. That's what baseball went with. I find it kind of surprising that they did do these bubbles after the whole season went well.
Yeah. Yeah. I guess it's hard. 60 games. I guess I like the idea, especially where they did do extremely well. We're seeing other sports, aka the NFL is not doing so hot right now. I guess it's for it to be neutral site to not have home field advantage. Well, they did have home field advantage for the first round, for the wild card round.
Yeah.
Then they're doing the neutral site, which is really weird because now you're forcing teams over. I don't know. To me, I'm not surprised by anything because it is the COVID season.
Mm-hmm.
At
Yeah.
least the only COVID season as of right now. But
I think it's like, thinking about it more right now, it's probably just to decrease the face-to-face contact with everyone. So if you're going to be traveling, well, yeah, you'd have to travel from each stadium as well. It would
yep.
give in a normal series, you'd get a 2-1 or a 2-2-1 series, which they might have been done this to condense the calendar because you don't have to travel if you're all in the same area.
Yeah.
And when you do travel, they might have private jets and stuff, but you're going to be coming in contact with people at the airport and just a bunch of people in general. So I think they wanted to make sure these playoffs did not have anyone test positive with COVID and not be like, all right, game 4, ALCS. Yankees are down 2-1. Aaron Judge contracts COVID and he's out for the next 3 games.
Yeah, you don't want to risk it. And also, I mean, you got to think about the future. If you end the season on schedule, you can start next season on schedule. You might get a spring training, which is likely, with spring training's practically a bubble anyways. You can get spring training in, you can get the regular season in, assuming COVID dies down a little bit or there's a vaccination at that time. We have some months left. So I just think overall it is the smartest thing. Keep the traveling to a limitation. Don't risk good guys catching it. Then it's forcing the season. It's going to force the fans. The fans are going to be so upset. If I'm a fan of the Yankees and like you said, Judge catches it, or Stanton or Garrett Cole, who's scheduled to pitch a game 7, now he can't pitch. They're not going to pause the game. They're going to play the game. So not only is it for making sure that everybody's healthy and can play, but they want to play on time and finish on time, thinking about next season as well.
Because as we know, basketball next season's going to be very weird. It's going to take next season, maybe even the season after that, to get the calendar back to where it was.
Back to normal. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, the season is not even going to start on time because they're still in the playoff. They're in the bubble or in the finals now. It'll be done by next week. And the offseason, the draft's in November. So the draft in November instead of what was supposed to be in June right after the finals is now in November right after the finals. So you're months back. There's probably not going to be a summer league. If there is, it's going to be another bubble. I would not expect, I mean, the thing about the summer league though, you don't expect top guys to be there. It's going to be pretty much all rookies, first, second year players, maybe second year players. And so that's okay there. But yeah, everything's starting late and it's going to roll over into the next season, assuming, again, we have a COVID-free 2021. Nothing's guaranteed. So we'll see what ends up happening. But I mean, we might as well transition to the NBA at this point. So we can, we'll say football for last. So the NBA, the finals, it is 3-1 Los Angeles Lakers over the beat up Miami Heat. Keely, are you surprised? Are you?
All right. So the number, no, I thought it was going to be 5 initially. I thought the Lakers were going to easily win the game. So you'd lose one here and there, and then they would close it out. So numbers wise, no. Performance wise, I'm like rooting for the Lakers. I have been scared the past couple games about the Lakers. They only won by a few points yesterday. The Heat team is coming to fight. They got Bam Adebayo back as well.
Bam Adebayo's back. He had a little neck injury. He missed game 3. Came back for game 4. Dragic, who is probably going to miss the rest of the finals. He's got a broken
plantar fasciitis.
Yeah, in his foot. And that's a big injury because, I mean, that's what it says. You're planting. It's your foot. He did practice. Twitter world, myself, saw him in tears because he did not get the nod to go. Very upsetting. Great player. LeBron haters, I'm going to say this once and one time only. Stop giving excuses as to why LeBron is winning this series, whether if it's AD helping or if it's Miami that's hurt. Goran Dragic is, to me, slightly better than Kendrick Nunn. Kendrick Nunn in the regular season, you Miami Heat fans loved him. He was balling out to the point where he was one of the top rookies behind Ja Morant, behind Zion. He can play. Tyler Hero has stepped it up. Are you missing the veteran presence of Goran Dragic? Yes. Does he bring intensity to the court? Yes. Is he a great offensive mind? Yes. But without him, you won a game. So it's okay. I just wanted to address everybody that hates on LeBron for every little thing. I get it. He's so easy to hate. I hated LeBron for walking off the court during that loss. He lost some respect from me. I will go to bat and defend LeBron more times than not, but I can't defend that. cannot take a loss, and it's sad. Besides that, the Lakers, they're playing the way we thought they would. They have too many weapons, and Anthony Davis is balling out. He had a bad game 3, and his game wasn't that bad, but it was a bad Anthony Davis game.
Mm-hmm.
Healy, do you agree they're going to wrap it up in this next game?
I think so. I think that they should. I want to see Anthony Davis shoot more. I don't know. Like, he's putting up points, but I'm seeing him put up like 9 shots a game, 10 shots a game, and scoring like 20 points. Why doesn't he score like 40?
He can. Okay, so there was a lot of double teams in their loss, right? That forced him to pass out and let the other players do what they have to do. The fact that I saw him in the 3rd or 4th quarter only have 9 or 10 shots in the game, that's something's off there. This is a guy who can shoot 20 or 21 times easily in a game and shoot efficient. 60, 65% from the field. He's 100% from the free throw line. You're telling me you can't design a play for him to go and at least draw a foul in the paint? He is the X factor on this team. Obviously, his numbers are ridiculous. So are LeBron's. But with Anthony Davis, I would expect him to come out on fire as he has most games.
Yeah, he even hit the dagger yesterday. So
he did. That 3 was nice. This dude does it all. He's inside threat, defensive mastermind. And the fact that he shoots the jumper, he's second to none in the league to me at that position.
I just, like, I'm not hating on his play. I just want to see more. I just want to see him go off in the finals. Like, take over a game, do it all. I still think if he drops 25 points tomorrow, 25 plus, he has like 12 rebounds, like 4 assists, and like a couple blocks, I still think he's the final MVP. I know LeBron's been going off and getting like triple doubles and stuff, but Anthony Davis, I was looking at his plus minus. He's been unreal in that department. They've done so well. Game 3, he was like -20, but I think that was just the Lakers were losing. He was on the court and his numbers happened to be bad, but in all the other games, he's had huge plus minus numbers. Like LeBron yesterday, he dropped like 20 plus. He had like a triple double or close to it, and he was only -2 on the game, while Anthony Davis was like plus 17.
Plus 17, that's huge. He also had 4 blocks in the game. You're talking about a guy who's leading the team in 3-point percentage. Has a higher field goal percentage than LeBron. He's averaging more points than LeBron. I know LeBron does get close to that triple-double. Triple-double isn't a hot commodity these days. Jimmy Butler in game 3, who went off, had a triple-double or was close to a triple-double.
Oh, he had a triple-double.
He did get it. It's like the triple-double is not an easy stat, but when you handle the I almost said the football, when you handle the ball so much, it's not as impressive. When you get the ball and you are the point guard at your size, it's not as impressive as your big guy averaging almost 30 points a game, a block and a half a game, a steal and a half a game, almost 60% from the field, 100% from the free throw line in the finals, and is hitting dagger threes. That's impressive. LeBron's impressive, especially at his age. I can't take that away. MVP in my eyes is Anthony Davis in this series, as long as he does come out and performs to what he has normally been doing. If LeBron is a 50-point triple-double, he's probably going to get MVP.
Yeah, then the narrative will switch. It's also the narrative. Basketball, we all know narratives are a huge impact of the voting and stuff. They like looking at the stats sometimes, but they love the storylines and to award those as well. It's like a drama. They love
35-year-old MVP. That's the perfect headline for ESPN right there. They'll have a stat that says he's the first 35-year-old to take 3,000 steps on his Fitbit and have something else. They always come up with weird stats, but the narrative is generally LeBron James, which is fine. The 36-year-old LeBron James, I could see that. And he very well could win MVP. Either or, 1-2. But I feel like Anthony Davis, it's just 25, 10, and a block or 2. He
Mm-hmm.
should seal the deal, especially for my FanDuel boost. I'm gonna need that.
Over the weekend, when we were watching football as well, someone in your family was like trying to bet on the Heat, and I remember both of us were like, "Don't bet on the Heat. Don't bet on the Heat. Stay away." She should have bet on the Heat.
You know, that's my niece Tracy. She sent me a text, and immediately I was like, "Is maybe a friend telling her? Is she trying to, like, a friend's telling her this? Like, she's got bad friends?" No, she's like, "No, my friend told me I'm crazy." I'm like, "Yeah, no, you're crazy. You don't want to put this on." She's like, "I can win $400 or $500 on Miami. All they got to do is win, right? They have Jimmy. They should win." I'm like, "No, I don't think you understand. They're going to probably get swept in the series. Like, you should use that as a down payment on something or save your money." I was like, take it from somebody who has lost more than he has won. I basically have like a membership with like FanDuel at this point. Like, take it from me. Don't do it.
Mm-hmm.
I text her at halftime. I'm like, wow, you really should have placed that bet.
I'm sorry.
I
And like,
apologize. Yeah, it was wild. And I mean, you never know. You never know, but it was like one of those. And then I think she wanted to actually bet on them for this last game. So if that's the case, I really screwed up her winnings, but
it's with how it looked and the injuries and whatever. We were even talking about it after that. I was like, Jimmy Butler, great player, but he's more of like a Scottie Pippen. He just doesn't take over games. He doesn't do it. He can put up some numbers. He just isn't the number one option for your team. What does he do? He drops 40 points, like 12 rebounds, 11 assists. He's the first player to outstat LeBron in all those categories in a game.
yeah,
In the
the
playoffs.
first play. I mean, Jimmy's a dog. We've seen it. We've seen it from his Bulls days, Minnesota's practices, where he went up against the whole starting lineup, called them all bums, and proved it. Philadelphia was a weird stint. They messed up by getting rid of him, but they have something else going on. And this Miami team, the fact that they did that, they won with Adebayo gone, with obviously Dragic gone. He stepped up. He knew he had to step up. My question is, why don't they let him just try to take over and let these other guys just fill in? Kelly Olynyk played great basketball for his role. Kelly Olynyk is obviously a veteran. He's been in the league quite a while. We saw him with Boston. A little bit of a slower guy on the court, but I mean, he's fundamentally sound. Miles Leonard did pretty okay as well, stepping up. All these guys stepped up and allowed Jimmy Butler to practically be the LeBron James of his team, so to speak. And, Bam Adebayo comes back. He's still a little hurt. Jimmy Butler still had a good game, but I would have expected him he's got to handle the ball, I feel like, almost every time down court. Tyler Hero, I know his numbers were pretty okay, but I mean, he had a horrible shooting performance. It wasn't the same that he had from the game before.
Mm-hmm. Tomorrow, though, they're wearing the Mamba jerseys. It's over. It's over. They're 4-0 wearing the Mamba jerseys this year. They're going to do it for Kobe, and it's just going to end the season in the best way for the Lakers this year. For NBA.
I'm gonna call you crying, Healy. I'm gonna reminisce on Kobe after they win. Man, rest in peace, Kobe. But yeah. I'm in 7:00 game, I believe, tomorrow. Lakers have a 7-point spread. I'm telling everybody right now, take the over on that spread. The Lakers are going to cover the spread. LeBron is not coming off of that court as long as it is nothing more than a 15-point blowout with 5 minutes left. Not even 5 minutes. It has to be like 2 minutes left. LeBron is not coming off the court. AD is not coming off the court. I'm expecting these guys to play 35 minutes, maybe 40. They're going to play most of the game. And that's that. All you need is those two guys on the court. That's it.
It's been funny with LeBron being on social media. Normally he takes off social media for the playoffs.
Zero
This
dark
year,
30.
This year he hasn't because of the bubble. And he tweeted out a GIF at like 7 in the morning today of just someone laying in bed. And it's like, this dude's been up all night. He's gonna
Oh
be
yeah.
he's gonna be ready for tomorrow. And he is gonna be yeah, he won't come off the court. He's gonna
Yeah.
drop probably 30 points, 12 assists, 8 rebounds, and they're gonna win by 15 plus. And it was funny. Did you know what the over was yesterday?
Yeah, wasn't the over like a point above? It was like right, but it was
It
at the
was 7.5.
yeah, and Hero hit the three.
Yeah, to make it a 7-point game.
I follow this social media account, and all they post are like people who win bets, lose bets, and all I saw were everybody's reaction when Tyler Hero just pulled up and hit the three, garbage time three, and killed the spread. It amazes me how often that happens. Missed free throw at the end of the game, garbage time three, missed layup, which we've seen. I think I did it with like a Houston game in the playoffs. A missed layup at the end of the game. Actually, I think it was OKC, but it's tough. It's tough. Shout out to you gamblers out there who make this a living. I tip my hat to you.
Every time.
Every time.
Every time.
So that's going to wrap up basketball. Everybody, make sure you tune in, watch the game. We will recap the end of the year, the last game. Maybe not. Maybe Miami wins. Maybe we have a Miami Heat listener listening to this podcast and we just fueled the fire for them. Who knows? But that's going to transition us over to the NFL, where we have more news. Not only did Cam Newton test positive for COVID over the weekend, luckily the Patriots were still able to play. They did lose, but they were able to play. Tennessee had another positive test, and they are in lure of potentially forfeiting this week. This is tough. They already postponed a game. They can't postpone to another bye week. They already postponed to a bye week. The NFL is not playing. They're cracking down. They are going to have video footage, and they will punish teams. They already have a more lenient approach with these guys. They don't play in a bubble. They're not, I mean, granted, yes, they are probably going to hotels when they travel, but they're allowed to travel from the East Coast to the West Coast. They're playing in the stadiums. Some of these stadiums do have fans. Is that a problem? Potentially. We don't know. We don't know where these guys are getting it. But teams are cracking down, and Tennessee was supposed to be allowed back in the facilities, and now they can't. These guys all have to go and get tested over the next couple of days. They're all going to have to test positive. I think it's twice, if I'm not mistaken.
Negative.
I'm sorry, negative. Yes, negative. Twice before they can even practice. Football is the one sport where you need practice. You need to practice, especially when you play a team once or twice a year. If that team is more prepped for you and gets that practice versus somebody who's getting one day, take it from somebody who's played the game growing up, you're going to need that. It's a game of chess. It's a game of chess for some of these teams.
And speaking of practice, one of the reasons why some Tennessee Titans players got it or like tested positive still, apparently these guys were practicing in their own time, in their own space together. Like they were not supposed to be in contact with each other, and they did. Is that true? I don't know. I saw a lot of people talking about it, but then you always have the people defending them and whatever, but it's a possibility these guys were trying to practice with each other when they weren't, and that's why there's some more positive cases. So the NFL, they could forfeit their game. They could take away draft picks probably. They could fine the organization, fine players. I don't know. The NFL is going to make an example. We talked about this. We had the podcast going when baseball was doing this. These guys need to get it together and take it seriously. Baseball, you don't really have to come in contact with people. The only people you do come in contact with is like your own team. Football players, not the same story. So you have to be more careful. and take it seriously. Don't go out to the club if it's open where you're at. Don't go out to your homie's place. You're going to have to just isolate for the next few months and play the game.
They get paid so much money. I would put me in solitary confinement for the money they make. The thing is, and I thought that the NFL had a tracker. It was like a wristband where it can kind of show, like, retrace the steps of where they were and who they were near. I don't know if that's a thing. I could have sworn I saw that for the first game, for the Chiefs game, that on that Thursday, that they were talking about that. So maybe that is the case. Maybe they're able to see, oh, you were in distance within a mile radius of this guy, or within a quarter mile, or next to this guy. I don't know what they have to do, but I think you have to hold everybody responsible. Especially if there's news that, hey, your game's postponed. We have 10 days before our next game. That's the 10-day period, whatever it may be. Let's all get to the point where we're able to test negative for COVID and practice maybe a Friday and Saturday walkthrough before the game on Sunday or Monday, whatever it may be. But you got to hold everybody responsible. You have to take self-responsibility and understand, maybe I'm not going to practice. Maybe I'm going to go out and run sprints by myself. Don't go around anybody, especially knowing that there are false negative tests out there. There are false negative tests. That's why they have them testing multiple times. You just can't be a dummy when it comes to this. You just can't. You wouldn't go, if your team tests positive and you have a 95-year-old grandma, you're not going to go by your grandma. You don't know. You just don't know. Just stay inside for a few days. Make sure that, you take precaution and don't screw your team over. Cam Newton, the Patriots defense played pretty damn well, even though the Chiefs did win by, it was like 10 points, 11 points, 12 points, whatever it was. With Cam Newton in that game, it could have been a different ball game. Cam Newton tested positive. Obviously, Stephon Gilmore just tested positive. So that's another problem there for the Patriots. So hopefully he's the only one, but they're in jeopardy too. I mean,
Gilmore tested positive.
Yeah, Gilmore. Yeah, Stephon Gilmore. And so the biggest thing is, you don't want to postpone games, is what it comes down to. This isn't baseball. Baseball, we can run double headers all day. You can run double headers every day for a week. Give them a break in between. Baseball is allowed to do that. Football, you endure so much in that 60-minute game, even though the ball's in play for only like 30 minutes with wasted time. You endure a lot. You can't run a double header. You can't postpone to bye week. Sure, maybe you'll do a bye week and then we'll add a week 18. Worst case scenario. But you can't keep adding on to that because of stupidity. At the end of the day, COVID is very unfortunate, but if you want to play the game, if you want to collect your paycheck, you got to use your head sometimes.
We'll see if these positive tests continue. The Steelers, I don't think they were one of the teams. They're definitely one of the teams that got affected because of the Titans. Luckily, the Chiefs and Patriots did play on Monday Night Football. They were thinking maybe they could play on Tuesday if needed, but Monday was good. I think the Chiefs would have won regardless. That team's looking gross again.
There's only two teams, according to Adam Schefter, that look scary. The Kansas City Chiefs and the Green Bay Packers. Both teams right now are my favorite. They're my favorite. They're my picks.
I don't even like when the Bears play the Packers. Don't even invite me over. I'm just not even gonna watch the game those 2 days.
The Bears, no, but it's weird. The Bears end up finding a way to keep it close with Green Bay, but now that they lost Tariq Cohen and I don't know, Montgomery could be the guy, but it all depends. Nick Foles didn't look too hot. To be fair, the Colts defense is stellar. It's stellar. So that was going to be one of their toughest defensive matchups. They have the Bucs obviously on Thursday. But just to recap some of the games from week 3. So we had the Bears. I'm sorry. Yeah, the Bears and the Colts. Week 4. I'm sorry, not week 3, week 4. The Bears Ended up going down to the Colts. Bears got their first loss. They are who we thought they were. Played a great game, though. Defensively, the Bears looked really well. If they can start to get it going on the offense, they can definitely compete every week. We had the Broncos beat the Jets on Thursday. It was actually kind of an entertaining game because it was a very high-scoring game. Bengals got their first win. Joe Burrow got his first victory, and then he tweeted, he likes to win.
Yeah.
Well, Burrow, we like to see you win. We like to see you win.
Right after that tie that we discussed
right after that
week.
tie. Yeah, all rookies get a tie, right? Very entertaining game. Very tough spot. Mike McCarthy and Jerry Jones with this Dallas Cowboys team. They put up 38 points, but they gave up 49 to the Browns. They almost came back again in another game. Dak Prescott passed for an unbelievable amount. It was 502 yards with 4 touchdowns. Not enough. Not enough. You pass for 500 yards and 4 touchdowns, you should win the ball game. But their defense is horrible. Even though they have Aldon Smith, who is back, leading the league in sacks, I'm pretty sure. Doesn't matter when you're giving up the big plays. Browns are 3-1, best start since like 1792 or something. I don't know. What can Brown do for
time.
Nick Chubb is hurt, but Kareem Hunt is dominant, just like he was with Kansas City. So they're not losing much there. Very scary team to look out for. The Bucs beat the Chargers. They're now 3-1 after a really bad start to the season. 1 loss, I guess I wouldn't call it a bad start. Vikings beat the Texans. Texans are 0-4, and guess what? Bill O'Brien gets fired. The GM gets fired too.
Yeah.
So
terrible. He just really ran that team into the ground.
I know people are like, wow, how are you going to fire that coach who's led them to the playoffs? Look at that team and look at the record. First of all, that team traded away DeAndre Hopkins, and I know there was a fallout there, but you traded him and you got a running back in David Johnson who was good once upon a time, and he's still pretty solid. You start a season 0-4. You have J.J. Watt on your defense, who's healthy. You have Deshaun Watson, who's proven to be a pretty damn good quarterback. Top 10 quarterback. You got to go. You got to go. I mean, granted, did they lose last year in the playoffs? Was it close? So when they did lose, yes. Start the season 0-4, your season's done.
Yeah.
You're done. You have to play. It's like now you're at the point, do we play to tank or do we play to somehow go on a huge run and maybe be a wild card team? I don't know. I don't know what they
morale purposes.
Morale purposes. And you don't want a team to tank ever like that because they have competitors. They have Will Fuller, Randall Cobb, who is still not bad of a receiver. David Johnson, like I mentioned, Deshaun Watson, and the defense isn't bad. They're playing bad this year. I get it. They can do better, but anything could happen at this point. I'm okay with them firing them. If I was a fan of the Texans, I'd be okay. I'd be like, it's time for change. It's time for change. Besides that, the Buffalo Mafia, the Bills Mafia, 4-0, Josh Allen, the truth, the future of the NFL. They are 4-0. They beat the Raiders. Raiders, who's an okay team this year. Yeah. Not bad.
Beat the Saints.
They did. And the Eagles got their first win as well. 1-2-1. Another team that tied the week before got a victory against the 49ers. A very beat up 49ers team. Am I surprised? Not really. Eagles do end up pulling off games here and there against pretty solid teams. Obviously, Steelers and Titans were postponed. Any of those games stand out to you, Healy? Green Bay dominated the Falcons. What stood out to me, Calvin Ridley got 0 catches against Jair Alexander and that Green Bay Packers defense.
Ooh.
This is the first time, and Julio Jones had like 4 grabs, I think, for like 37 yards. This is the first year as a Packer fan where I look at the defensive backs and what they do on the defense, and I'm like very surprised. They've had defenses where they force a lot of turnovers, they get a lot of interceptions, but I've never seen them compete the way they have against great offensive talent. Granted, Alvin Kamara slashed them up. He does that against most teams anyways. They're good so far. I don't want to keep speaking on it. I'm going to knock on wood. I don't want to jinx anything, but that Green Bay team has me sitting high and mighty right now.
What about when they had like Charles Woodson and Al Harris? And
those were great teams, but some of their biggest flaws, I can go back to when they had a huge lead in the conference championship against Seattle and they blew that game. And I know, granted, the special teams did not grab the onside kick, but after Seattle, grabbed the onside kick in the fourth quarter, and it was like two deep plays. Green Bay historically has given up the big plays. We're not seeing that right now. We're not seeing that, minus, like I said, Alvin Kamara, who's one of a kind. He's got to do it against most teams. That has always been the biggest flaw. We've seen Al Harris pull off big plays against Seattle back in the day when Hasselbeck in OT said he's going to take the ball and he's going to score, except for he threw a pick six to Al Harris. Legendary move. We've had guys like KGB, Kareem Bajabiamila go off, Clay Matthews, Charles Woodson, number of interceptions. I would say the depth chart of defensive backs with King, Jair Alexander, we have Adrian Amos, missing the other safety. This is one of the most dominant set of backs that the Packers have. Not to mention Preston Smith, Zaire, the Smith brothers. These guys are going off, and I'm excited, especially with an offense that's led by just Aaron Rodgers and Aaron Jones, and the injuries that they have. Aaron Rodgers is dangerous right now. Scary.
Did you hear him on the Pat McAfee show? He's like, my down years are like quarterbacks like peak years,
career years for a lot of, and he's not lying. He's not lying.
It's like Kershaw. Kershaw put up a 3 ERA last year, and he was washed. Yeah. First time he's put up a 3 ERA since like his rookie year.
And it's better than most guys anyways. You're a top 10 ERA at a 3. Aaron Rodgers has consistently, his touchdown to interception ratio has been the best. His completion percentage it declined a little bit, but it's still one of the best. You're not seeing 40 to 45 touchdowns out of him. I mean, he doesn't have the same receiving core that he once had when he had Jordy Nelson, when he had Randall Cobb in his peak, and Greg Jennings, or whoever else, and Devontae Adams more recently. Devontae Adams is a stud. He's obviously hurt right now, maybe coming back. We don't know. He's not seriously injured. But he's off to one of the hottest starts that I've seen for somebody who doesn't really have arsenal around him. He just has guys who he places the ball well for them. And Aaron Jones' running game, being a top 5 running back, is helping that too. We cannot forget Aaron Jones and Williams, the number 2. He had an incredible game. I picked him up thinking he would be a solid 5 to 6 fantasy points. I'm in a PPR league. He got me 16 to 17 points. So they have talent all around with the running backs, and that's huge. That helps immensely for Aaron Rodgers and the defense too. Good field position.
Did you hear about Washington and their QB change today?
Dwayne Haskins getting and we talked about it. He got warned by Rivera. He said, you need to perform. Just perform. And I know his completion percentage is not bad. Everybody needs to get off that shit. Don't look at a stat. Look at how they play in the game. He can hit McLaurin 15 times in a game. That's fine. McLaurin knows how to get wide open. There's more to it. Can he win games? That defense is been playing great football. Great football. They played one of the best offenses that we've seen in years. Granted, did they put up 31 points or whatever to Baltimore? Yes, but they didn't move the ball at all. They didn't move it. He did okay, but it's one of those where You're at a point where it's experimental, and Josh Rosen is only a third year, fourth year quarterback. Everybody thought he just died off. He was a quarterback who got drafted with tangibles. He has the physical talent. He just was gone because Arizona had their eyes on Kyler Murray. Josh Rosen goes to Miami. Miami loves Fitzmagic. They had Tannehill at one point. Josh Rosen got tossed around like a I'm not going to say what I was going to say, but he got tossed around. And you got to give him a shot. If Dwayne Haskins is not performing, give him a shot. Let Haskins know there's more. Haskins is young. There's more to learn when you are sitting down on the bench watching the game. You can learn that way. You can still learn. It's not about, oh, they're benching this guy. They didn't give him enough time to develop. Aaron Rodgers took 4 years to develop.
Yeah.
Give Haskins is so young. He has time. Let him develop. Let him watch some games. Let him, take more time that way. Sometimes the best way to learn is to watch what works and what doesn't work by another quarterback doing it. So same thing with Trubisky. We don't know if Trubisky might end up getting a starting quarterback spot back after the game Foles had. Obviously, Foles, I think, is the man moving forward and will be, but you just never know. There's so many aspects to the game, and sometimes you got to trust coaches like Ron Rivera, who's been to the promised land before.
Speaking of the Bears, yeah, Nick Foles, he looked all right. I think it sparked a lot of conversation with like, oh, do we go back to Trubisky? Nick Foles looked bad. We already touched on how the Colts defense is amazing this year. They were like the best defense in National Football League. I still feel like Foles should be the quarterback going forward. He'll have a better game tomorrow. He just reads the offense a little bit better. His wide receivers also didn't really help him out this past weekend. There were some drop balls.
Not at all. There was drop balls. Anthony Miller, I think, dropped another big pass. He's one that was like the sure bet to catch a ball. And this year he's dropped a touchdown. I've seen him drop. There was an interception that he dove for that got tipped up. Maybe it wasn't his fault, but I don't know. Allen Robinson actually ended up having a couple good catches in the game. Allen Robinson's got to get paid. And there's got to be talks. I'm sure they've already told him, listen, you're getting paid. Let's just fly under the radar with it. Because if he doesn't get paid, there's 31 other teams that are going to pay him a lot of money. They would pay him a lot of money. So Aaron Rodgers would love him. So the Bears, to me, are going to be very competitive. They're going to come out very, very competitive tomorrow. Tampa does have it's another tough defense. Brady, on the other hand, has thrown a series of. He's had some games where he's thrown interceptions. I think
it's in Chicago, right?
It's in Chicago. It's a Thursday night game. The Bucs have, I think, a 3.5-point spread. I actually think you might take the spread for the Bears. I think maybe Tampa wins by a field goal in this game. You have two defenses going at it. A Brady who I don't even know, is Godwin hurt? Is Godwin back? I mean, they have Scotty Miller, who's okay, I guess. Mike Evans, who's good for 4 or 5 catches, usually big plays. But this Bears defense, if they get at Brady the way they've been getting at quarterbacks, all their offense has to do is make a couple more big plays compared to what they did last week. And that's the difference between it being a close game and them winning by a touchdown.
And I think, did you mention how Chris Godwin's out for tomorrow?
So he is officially out?
Yeah, you ruled him out.
That's huge. That's huge because that's a guy who can run great routes with speed and catches everything his way. Now you have to focus in on Mike Evans, Scotty Miller, and maybe Gronk. Gronk is always a questionable wild card. You never know what you're going to get from Gronk. He's pretty much a blocker at this point because they still have OJ Howard who can catch. But I'm excited for this game tomorrow. I know it sounds like it's going to be a boring defensive game, but I'm looking forward to seeing. For Bears fans out there, this is more of a playoff game, considering Tampa Bay has first place in their division. The Bears are questionable to take their division or wild card. This could be a playoff matchup, and this is a more realistic test for them. They have, if they can move the ball, they saw what they couldn't do against the Colts. There were some drop passes. If they can limit the drop passes and get a couple extra yards on the ground, I think, like I said, I think the Bears could end up being, they're not the favorite, but I like the Bears in this game.
Yeah, I did not like how last week we didn't really see Montgomery on the field as much. It was Cordero Patterson seemed to get a lot of the carries in last week's game. It could be wrong, but you need to put Montgomery out there. You need to run the ball just a little bit more. I know this game is going away from the run game a little bit in this era, but you got to run the ball sometimes. You have Montgomery. I know Cordero Patterson's kind of filling in for the Tariq Cohen spot, but Montgomery's the dude to run in between the tackles. He will fight for the yards.
Yeah, he will literally fight for the yards, and sometimes you have got to give a guy the ball 25 times. He's a workhorse. He's young.
Yeah.
You got to do it. You got to do it, especially when Tariq Cohen's out. I get it. They played from behind, so they couldn't run the ball too much. But, I mean, speaking from success, when they played the Falcons in that fourth quarter, he ran the ball extremely well. Extremely well. They ran the ball as a team 25, 26, almost 27 times against Atlanta. In this last game, it was like 14 times.
Yeah, so Montgomery had 10 for 27 yards. Yeah, it was a little weak. Yeah, they were going up against a big front line. Cordero Patterson only ran the ball 3 times. It felt like maybe it was late in the game.
No, he was in the backfield a lot.
Yeah. Okay, so he was in the backfield a lot. It's just, it seemed like maybe it was just late in the game that he was out there more than like Montgomery was. They only ran the ball 14 times, though, total. 10 for Montgomery, 3 for Patterson. A couple for Foles. I don't think those are necessarily carries, but 1 for Darnell Mooney, which resulted in a loss of 3.
Yeah, yep. Darnell Mooney is something to watch out for, too. But you got to run the football. You got to be able to, at least if you're going to go by committee with those two, I know they're, like I said, Tariq Cohen's out. You still got to find a way to get 20, 25 handoffs. Even the Packers, who, had pretty much a dominating performance against Atlanta on Monday night, they ran the ball still 25, 26 times. And that was a game where Rodgers had 327 yards in the air, 4 touchdowns. The running game is that's how you manage the clock. It'll be different, though. The defense is good with Tampa. I don't think they are as good as the Colts. So, like I said, it'll be a defensive game, but you got to feed the ball to Montgomery and let the passing game open up. And Foles will make the right passes. Sometimes he does make mistakes, but more times than not, he'll make the right passes. I like the Bears with the spread. I'm not saying they're going to win, but they'll cover the spread.
Mm-hmm. Oh, man. A lot of sports this week. Maybe next week we're going to be talking about the CSs, the championship series, and baseball, go over the division series wrap-ups. We're going to be talking about the NBA Finals wrapping up. And then hopefully good news for both the Bears and Packers. If you guys did enjoy the podcast this week, make sure you hit that subscribe button. Download the episode. Best way to show support. Follow our social media pages. You can follow Goose at iGoose with 4 O's. You can follow myself at the Healy6. Follow the social media page for the podcast at SROnlyPod. You can tweet us questions or just sports discussions. We'll happily discuss with you. And we will see you guys next week with Tyler Stevenson.
Yes, tune in. You do not want to miss it.